placed a small explosive charge. Now we can observe the difference between this vest and the normal one. Oh my fucking god! The difference is that it hurts people.
Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast. We have an amazing show, and I'm not even fooling about that. Besides me, Mike Reef, we got my buddy John Ferrantino, we got Craig Mitchell, but I am over the moon, man. We have the most incredible, we have the legendary Tommy Chong with us here today. But before we get to Tommy, let me just say, Craig, tell them where they can see the show.
If you want to watch us, you can go to our webpage, www.thebbbbradio.com. You can go to www.strongisland.com. Now, if you want to watch us live, you can watch us at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays by going to Twitch, by going to Twitter, by going to Facebook, by going to YouTube. And if you want to watch us on your couch, download the Strong Island Entertainment app on both Roku and also Amazon Fire Stick. And watch us right there. Back to you, Mike.
It just occurred to me that if they're listening to that, they don't need it because they're watching.
And if you're watching us on your couch,
venues, not
and
realizing
if you're watching us on your couch, just don't be touching yourself.
Oh, wait, never mind. Thank you. All right. Now, isn't it time to bring on our special guest?
Okay. And now it's time. Let's hear it for the one and only, the legend, Tommy Chong.
Woo! Hey, man. Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast, dude.
We're here with Tommy Chong, and we're talking about that. But like you said, it was sounds like it was a government setup.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened? Bush was running. Bush was the president. He was starting a war with Iraq,
right?
And he was looking for an excuse to get into the scuffle. Okay, to get into so he could start bombing. And his excuse was weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
Iraq was, getting weapons of mass destruction. Well, in the meantime, they were looking for some kind of diversion, like Nixon did with the hippies during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
He was looking for some excuse to take the heat off them. And so they went after the bong business because that was the only business that dealt with weed that it was a gray area because, how do you bust a guy for a water pipe?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they had this law that was on the books that said, paraphernalia law.
Right.
And so what they did, they tried to get my company, actually it was my son's company, to ship the bongs to them. They would order over the phone, but my company said, no, we can't do that. We can't, it's not legal for us to ship the bongs. And so what they did, they ended up putting an undercover guy into our company. And all of a sudden the bongs got shipped. And we don't know how they got shipped, but they got shipped. And then they came up personally. Oh, they tried everything. And then they recorded all this, by the way. They recorded them, the entrapment and everything. Oh. And so then it came down to charging me. Well, okay, they charged me. Of course, legally, the bong company was not in my name.
Right.
The most I did was let them use my name. That's not illegal. I was clean. I could have walked. Then they found out that my wife had signed a check to my son who started the bong company.
Right.
Now they got enough evidence to charge my wife and my son. And so unless I gave up,
right.
I pled guilty. And
they wanted you. They wanted a famous face.
They wanted a famous face.
And who would have ever put you together with pot?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get Tommy Chong and pot? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well, they did, and I did. I went to jail for 9 months. I could have beat it. The system's all screwed up. It's been screwed up forever.
Yeah.
But the defense lawyer people, they wanted me to fight it because, you know, they can get more money out of me, you know, and I'm not going to win. And I had a lawyer across the street from me. I'm surrounded by lawyers in this neighborhood. And the guy across the street, he was like, he's an honest guy, you know, as honest as a lawyer you could get. Anyway, he told me, he says, do the time, you know, and then fight it after you get out. Then you got, you know, you've done the time. They can't charge you, you know, and now you can go after them for the money. And I haven't gone after him yet, but I will, because I got a good case, you know. It's documented that they did what they did and it was illegal, you know, the whole blackmailing, everything, you know.
You would think that would be a big lawsuit because you were recurring, I think, at the time on that 70s show.
Yep.
You could sue them for all the lost wages and stuff too.
Yeah, that's a year of that, and then they confiscated cash in my house just because the bong is like considered a drug bust. Right. But my cash was from selling T-shirts.
Oh man!
And they took all the cash. They had me. Well, the lawyers, my defense lawyers, you know, they needed the $100,000 retainer, and on and on. It cost me about $2 million at the end of the day.
Jeez.
Wow. And they shut down the business. You know,
Isn't it fascinating that since then, not only is pot legal, but it's thriving in California. I mean, would you think that everything you went through prior and also during is one of the things that led up to that happening?
You're like the Lenny Bruce of
yeah. Actually, when Cheech and I first hit town, the first gig we did was at Red Fox's club. He had a comedy club on La Cienega, right? And that's who we met. We met all of Lenny Bruce's entourage.
Wow, how very cool.
And Tony, Lenny Bruce's road manager and father-in-law for a while, he came up to me personally and he said that you're the closest to Lenny that he's ever seen.
Wow.
It was the best
cool is that?
I ever had.
And definitely as far as the free speech goes, I mean, you guys were like, you guys were out there, you were doing what you, I might have to so off to you. And this, I'm talking about like the sketches before you guys got really huge, you know. I mean, God, what commitment and what guts, what courage you got. You had to go on stage and do the stuff you were doing.
You know, it's so funny. I said to Mike the other day, I go, you know, now that Biden wants to get rid of anyone with a pot offense in jail and expunge their records, I go, there's some guy from 1972 sitting there because he had a roach and a seed in his car. And he's getting out now and getting a pot card.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was in there were so many people in there. Yeah. And you know what? They were all offering me weed. and I had to turn it down. Because I knew how these guys operate.
No, don't smoke.
And so they were trying their best to bust me. Yeah. Because I'd get offered the weed and then they would drug test me. Like an hour later, I'd be called in for a P test.
What a coincidence, right?
Yeah. No,
well, he must have been like a celebrity though in jail, right?
Yeah. Oh no, I was a big celebrity there. And in fact, I had when I got to the, first of all, Vanity Fair sent a limousine to take me to prison.
Wow.
And so my wife and I rode out to the prison in a limo.
I hope they have great Bourbon in there.
I had her say goodbye to my wife. Right. And then they took me up the stairs to the main prison, not the camp where I was in, but the main prison.
I showed up in a limo.
Symbolically, they had to handcuff my hands behind my back. Wow. And lead me through the gate. And that was the only time I had the cuffs on me. And then once I got through the gate, then one of the guards said, "Come on, I'll drive you over to the camp." And the minute I got into the pickup truck, he pulled out an album and he said, "Will you sign this for me?"
See, you were like Capone, man. You had like a recline. Well, that's why I wanted to ask you. I want to ask you, what was the time like? I mean, was it like the time that I, like, you know, me or what, or I mean, obviously, no, I would think you'd have been in solitary, but you weren't.
No, not at all, because it was an embarrassment bust for everybody.
Right.
Except the prosecutor, Mary Beth Buchanan. She was a prosecutor she got famous when 9/11 happened.
Right.
And she was the only prosecutor in this little town where the plane went down in Philadelphia.
Right.
And so that was her claim to fame. And by the way, they sentenced me on 9/11.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
on the actual day or just the anniversary?
On the anniversary. Yeah.
Hmm.
The anniversary of 9/11. I mean, that shows you what they were thinking.
But were you ever, I mean, maybe not, but were you ever concerned for your safety? I mean, it's still prison. I mean, and you're a famous
I got to
character.
tell you, I got a tattoo here on this arm. This shirt's hard to get off. It's a white supremacy tattoo. And it was given to me I was 15 years old. And my house, my mother was really sweet. And if I brought a friend home and they needed a place to stay, they could stay at our house. And I met this guy. He just got out of prison, and he was covered with tattoos, and so, but he was in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, in the 50s, and back then they had a silent system going in all the provincial prisons, not a federal. It was a provincial prison, and this is British Columbia, Canada. And so the silent system meant that the minute you walked through the gates, you could not talk.
Whoa.
Unless you had permission. And if you broke that rule, if you uttered anything, you were subjected to a paddle.
Wow.
This paddle is 5 foot high, like a cricket paddle, and they'd strap you over a horse, the gymnast horse,
That's starting to
and they
sound
pull
fun,
your
Tommy.
pants down. And if you were lucky, you would pass out on the first hit.
Ooh, Jesus.
And they would give you as much as 10 whacks.
Wow.
Oh my
And
God.
it would ruin you for life. You would sleep on your stomach for the rest of your time in jail. You had scars you would never get rid of. This was brutal.
Yeah.
They also had the cat of nine tails for like rape charges. You got sentenced to 4 years plus 4 lashes or 8 lashes.
The good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah.
And this is the guy that gave me the tattoo. And so he was in the silent system. So, but he had this beautiful voice, and he could sing really quietly. He learned how to sing real quietly. And so at night, when we were going to bed, he would sing. I played the guitar, and he would sing the beautiful songs. And I learned quite a bit of music from him, from that one. And he would tell me stories about prison. And then I had another friend, that same thing. He got out of prison, had nowhere to stay, stayed at my house. And then his name was Frenchie. He was from Montreal. And his claim to fame, he would rob banks dressed as a woman. And he was gay. He never came on to me at all.
Right.
But he was gay. And his big deal was the Christmas show in prison. And so when it came around Christmas time, he was missing prison so much that he went out, robbed a bank dressed as a woman. He gave the bulk of the money to my mom for back rent.
Wow.
And then went to jail, went to do his Christmas show.
Well, I think before we get too far gone, you said you have the white supremacist. I think we should clear up that you're not a white supremacist, though.
Not now. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm Chinese. I'm half Chinese. That was so funny. Because when they saw that thing, I'm the last guy in the world. And I told my son, I said, I got to, I get this covered. He said, don't you dare. That's OG.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, Tommy, most guys who got something like that got like a big, you got something stupid, you get a big like Black Panther. So anyone who walking around with a big black tattoo, they had something stupid under their arm before that. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that show? I'm sorry. Did you ever see that show called Tattoo Cover Up, where people come in with the worst tattoos and they try to fix them. This guy comes walking in, right? And he goes to the guy, "This is the worst tattoo you've ever seen in your life." And the guy goes, "I've seen some really bad ones." He takes off his shirt, and on the back of his shirt, he's got like a 24-inch tattooed turd with a halo on it, and it says "Holy shit."
Oh my God.
And the guy goes, "You're right. That's the worst one I've ever seen."
I've seen a worse one.
Let's hear it.
This guy, another Frenchman, when he goes to the beach, the lifeguards, everybody made him wear a shirt. There was a tattoo of a girl giving donkey head.
Oh.
No, that was pretty disgusting.
Go ahead, Tommy.
I had another friend that just got a, these guys, when they get out of prison, they call it going on vacation,
right?
Because the only life they know is prison.
Yeah.
And so what they do, they get out and then they go. That's why these crazy carjackings and all that shit, where they drive and the cops chase them forever and then they get caught. They're on vacation.
Yeah.
9 out of 10, or maybe 10 out of 10 are going back to jail. You see, you can't go to the feds, just because you commit a crime.
Yeah.
You have to commit a federal crime. It has to be all that in order to get in. Yeah. Because hey, federal prison is a poor man's college, that's where you go to get operations that you can't pay for on the outside.
Maybe you could email me like a list of things that I could do to get into the federal and get some.
No, I'm sorry. I don't help idiots.
But I have a friend who actually got busted for one of those drive, when you see the long chase and whatever. Yeah. And I asked him and I said, "What the hell were you doing?" And he said, "Well, I knew I was going to jail. Yeah. I had cigarettes left and he was smoking. I don't know if he was smoking crack or something. He goes, I had that left. He goes, I wasn't going to give up until I was done having a couple cigarettes and some more, Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Yeah. And I was in camp. And camp is different because it's nonviolent. If you show any kind of violence, put your ass into solitary, into the big prison. Right. But camp is like it is. It's a camp. Oh, I think there was a couple of funny things that happened. But one of the funniest things that I ever saw, man, was this. Where there's a phone to use a phone. You got to use a phone, like the room is filled with payphones, and so you get on a payphone and then you dial your number. But the cops or the prisons listened in. They record everything you say. Yeah. And so because if the first time I was on the phone, I couldn't use the phone for 2 weeks, and then I hadn't been away from my wife that long ever. That I can remember where I couldn't talk to her. Right. And so 2 weeks was up. I called her up and it was a nice feeling, we're talking and she said, "How was it?" And I said, "Not bad." I said, I had one of the guards come in my cubicle and big fan, and we had a nice chat. And anyway, after I hung up, I get a call right away. Come to central or the control, down to control. I went down there. And the Gestapo, they all had long raincoats and that, the guys, really? The police, the prison, they're sitting there, not sitting, just standing up, running around. And they says, "Who's this guy that came into your cell? That was really nice to you?" Yeah. And I looked at him. Obviously they listened. I says, "Well, I don't know his name." And they said, "Well, what did he look like?" And he says, "Looked like a guard." Yeah. Uniform on.
They want to make a snitch out of you, right?
They tried. Yeah. They tried. They just a little bit, They tried. They who knows? This guy's a snitch because that's the whole thing. Yeah. And of course, I couldn't snitch. You know what I did? I made a point of being squeaky clean.
Right.
Because there's no reason. You get everything you need. You know,
the spotlight's going to be on you like major, way more than Joe Smith. You know what I mean?
And the thing about pot, that's easy to quit.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget to get high all the time.
You don't forget to munch out, right?
You talk about prison stories. I knew a guy, right, that was pretty clean, and he was roommates with this other guy in New York, and these bikers broke into the house thinking he was the other guy. So they, listen to this, they beat the crap out of him. They put him in a duffel bag and threw him out on a parkway.
Whoa.
And he got out and said, that's it, I'm going to California. Left that next morning for California, got there, had basically no money, met somebody, which was a setup, and said, hey, can you deliver this package? It's $5,000. So he delivered the package for $5,000, and it was like a pound of Coke to a federal officer. He goes to jail, right? But he goes to this white collar Watergate type jail.
Yeah.
So he goes to the jail and he meets this guy who's a computer hacker, teaches him all about computer hacking. They get out of jail together. They hack into the police computer. They erase their records and start a business and run all the computers for the LA Police Department.
Smoke.
I mean, you could never do that now. This goes back, 20 years ago, but what a great story.
Yeah.
And talk about,
the prison I was in, it was run by prisoners.
Yeah.
They're the smart ones. The guards are the ones that couldn't get a job at Burger King.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's why they're working as guards. I mean, honestly, who in their right mind wants to work around prisoners especially in a hardcore prison? You gotta be out of your mind.
It's thankless job.
Yeah.
And you're walking, you're dressed up, and you got everything on. It's hot. We used to lay like we're on the beach, and I'd pretend the guards were like, hey, excuse me, could you give me a cold beer, please?
Well, see, but that's in the camp, yeah. But I mean, like in the prison, you're standing in your nice uniform, walking down, and next thing you know, somebody throwing feces at you or something that. I mean, who the hell wants a job but
nobody.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you before we get too far into that.
Okay,
I mean,
sure.
you have a new company. Are you now? You're doing something with Cheech, right? Are you doing the Cheech and Chong cannabis? I was looking a little bit about that.
We're looking to go, on the stock market,
right?
Go public with it, and we're together. And by the way, if you want any of our product, including the nice dreams and everything, you can go on Cheech and Chong's Takeout.
Yes, I saw that this morning.
Cannabis Takeout app that you can get a Cheech and Chong Takeout.
I'm going to call the company and see if they sponsor us.
And it gets delivered right to your door. You pick out what you want, and you don't have to, move a muscle.
The Cheech and Chong Takeout app, is that on Android and also iPhone?
Yeah, it's on everything. Yeah, you can't miss.
What's it called? It's called what, the Cheech and Chong Cannabis Company?
No, Takeout. Yeah.
No, takeout is something you click on once you're, at least that's what I saw. You click on that once you're on the app, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's how you get our product. And oh no, man, we're the Cheech and Chong. Yeah, we're hooked up for that.
Well, here's something I'll ask you.
On a Zoom yesterday with Cheech. It was pretty funny.
I don't want to blow something for you, so just feel free to lie if it's not. But I get your, I buy the product. I've had the gummies. I buy the, and I get your emails all the time. Is that really you, Tommy?
Not all the time, but once in a while.
Once in a while.
Once in a while, I'm on there. They took me off Twitter because it was getting too dangerous because I was arguing with too many Trumpies.
Oh my God! Come on, what are you doing? What are you doing arguing with them, Tommy?
Hey, is that coffee, Mike? What kind of coffee is that?
Oh, this is my favorite blend.
Well,
all we can say, Tommy, is don't get us started.
Well, I had a cancer operation in 2014. Right after I did the Dance with the Stars, I got rectal cancer. Right. And I got a tumor, and so they had to the exit around to the front, and I got a colostomy bag.
Yeah.
And so I had to do some comedy one time, and you know, comedians, we talk about what's happening to our lives, and I had to talk about my colostomy bag. And I said, well, the good news is that I named it the Trump.
Because it's full of shit.
Hot air and shit, you know?
Oh my God. That is freaking, by the way, my mother said to tell you she loves you. I just got back from Florida. It was her 91st birthday. And she knows you from Dancing from the Stars, and she remembers maybe a little Cheech and Chong, but she just adored you on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. I got a lot of fans on that show.
Yeah.
I love that show. I used to try to sneak pot jokes in there, and they would have to retape my entrance all the time. Oh, you can't do that, Tom. That's no pot kisses, you know.
Yeah.
Disney.
Speaking of which, on our, like, you know, all our different venues, I just posted a few questions. You know, I told people we're having Tommy on again, and to see if they had any questions. And so, would you mind if I asked you
Sure, let's do it.
of the? Well, first of all, my brother said. He said, I asked Tommy why they haven't, he put it, he's very blunt. He said, ask him why he hasn't got off his ass and made a Up in Smoke 2. He wants to see you and Cheech make a current movie, how you guys are now.
Well, to begin with, we almost didn't get in the movie business after Up in Smoke, because the guys that produced Up in Smoke kind of robbed us, you know.
Yeah.
And they had the name, and we
Tell me
could
where they
have
are, Tommy. Tell me where they are. I'll go get them. Tell me where they are.
It's too late now, but we settled, and we got a nice settlement. And because the next movie we did after that was called Cheech and Chong's Next Movie.
Right.
And but as far as a sequel to Up in Smoke, that'll never happen, unfortunately. We did a one called Still Smoking, which showed Cheech and I's our last one. And the last movie that we actually did together was the Corsican Brothers.
Right.
And that had no pot in there whatsoever.
Night Streams was amazing.
But one of the reasons why, like, Up in Smoke and everything, it's such a different world now. I mean, it was so taboo. Like, it was not like, I'm like probably your age. So to us, it wasn't, because, you know, I'm from the 60s, and, you know, so, you know, it was all like hiding, smoking pot. I was telling them just before we went on that I used to have, like, always like a quarter of a pound in my freezer.
Yeah.
And I'd always have like 2 in the horn of my car.
Sure.
And 2 in my wallet, and I'd go to my cousin's house, and he'd go, so what do we have today, curvies or flatties?
Yeah. 2 in your wallet near those condoms you didn't
The ones in your wallet would just be flat from sitting on them.
At least you got to smoke the ones in your wallet, so you couldn't use the condoms, but at least you got to smoke the joints.
In regards to Up in Smoke, I have 2 things I want to tell you. First of all, as far as Up in Smoke goes, to this day, and I'm 62, when and if I get pulled over, I always expect the cop to go, hey, man, I just want a bite of your hot dog. I still expect that to happen, no matter what. And the other thing I wanted to say, and if I can geek out for a second, if I'm allowed to, I loved you on that 70s show.
Well, thank you.
But there's one thing in particular I always wanted to ask you, because it makes me guffaw every time I see it. I think in season 7, they added you to the opening credits. When they said when they went on the table, and at the very end, when they go, "Hello, Wisconsin," and you just did this thing where you looked like you were mystified where the voice was coming from. Did you live that? Because that's hilarious.
Probably. To
this day, I remember the first time I saw it, I could not stop laughing because it's like, "Oh, Wisconsin!" You're like,
well, you guys improv a lot. Like that's a question my wife had. She said, please ask Tommy. You know, in her favorite thing is you know, when you're going in the ashtray, and this is Up in Smoke. I'm pretty no,
that was next movie.
Next movie, you go El Rocho, and you just get it. You go El Rocho. She said to ask, did you improv that, or was that was that in a script?
No, we wrote everything.
Yeah,
in any Cheech and Chong movie, we wrote our own dialogue.
Right.
Yeah, there's no in the 70s show. I never went off script. I stayed on script. Right. Everything I said was on script. But anything Cheech and Chong, no, that was cool. off the top of our head.
All right. Well, here's a question from Seth Hancock. He said, please ask him Did you know at the time that you did Up in Smoke that marijuana was going to be your path? And did you have any regrets about following that path?
No, none at all. In fact, Up in Smoke almost, what happened, we were supposed to go on tour. We were supposed to go to Australia for the third time.
Right.
And I didn't want to go because every time we'd go, we'd miss summer here in LA.
And this was to do the sketch act, the stage act to you guys.
Yeah, the stage act. And so this would have been our third summer that we're missing. And so I said, no, I want to do a movie. And so we ended up, I had another movie I wrote that I was kind of doing, but I'm real flexible, And so Lou Adler, our producer, went out and he got us a deal. And what the deal that Lou wanted to do was Cheech and Chong's greatest hits because he owned the record rights. And so had we done the movie with the record characters, that he would have owned that too,
Wow.
But while we were in the process of putting this together, I wrote a song called Up in Smoke. And when Cheech heard it, he goes, that's the title, that's the movie. And so once we had the title, now we had to come up with the movie. And so Cheech and I actually did the physical part of writing it on paper, but it was Cheech and I, our collaboration, and that's how we got it. But every actor in Up in Smoke wrote their own lines.
Oh, wow.
Every Smothers, you get a job by sundown or I'll shipping you off to.
Yeah.
He wrote every line. He wrote that. That was his. Stacy Keach, when he says, hey, what kind of meat the priest eat on Fridays? None.
God, see, I'd love to work with guys like you, man. Allow an actor to do all of that stuff. I mean, God.
Oh, they loved it. They loved writing their own stuff. Yeah. That's what made that movie so great because everybody, including Tom Skerritt, the strawberry guy.
Yeah.
He wrote his own. Everybody and every actor loved us for it because actors are so talented, man. They can. Writers are the opposite.
I got like at least I think 30 people asked this, but I only wrote down a couple of names. So it's I wrote Pam Mosgrove, Michael Pappas, and Deborah Murphy Ross, and Joe Puglisi would like to know where's Dave.
Unfortunately, the original Dave passed away. He was my first partner, and when we met Cheech, Dave and I were the main guys in the improv group, and so when I kept Cheech out of the cool studio where we were recording Dave's Not Here. See, Dave's Not Here was pure improv. It was, I was supposed to open the door when he knocked. I was supposed to open the door and he comes in and we do a bit. But I had a little tape recorder that I was trying to record. And so when he knocked, I got, I looked toward the door automatically and I couldn't see if it was recording or not. And so I paused and then he knocked and I saw the needle jump. And so and I could feel that he was impatient outside the door because it was really hot out there. And so I said, who is it? And I was supposed to open the door. And he goes, it's me, man. Come on, open up. I got the stuff. And then there's no answer. I could picture him out there. And so I sat in the nice, cold recording studio waiting for him to knock again. And you got to remember, Cheech never broke character that whole time. He stayed totally in character. And then you should have heard the original recording. Oh, God. Because we reenacted that after in the studio. Right. And it was the only time that we ever worked with Lou in the studio as a producer. Because after that, Dave's Not Here. Yeah. We all we needed was a little mixed down room and an engineer.
Wow. So it was like accidental magic. I mean, it was magic that just happened organically.
It was just organic. First take. Wow.
That's
amazing. Before we go to another question, I remember seeing you guys at Westbury Music Fair,
right,
on Long Island, and you guys came out doing the Poodles.
The dogs.
And they could crawl. You just came walking down. There's like catwalks that go to the stage, and you guys came out on like all fours. I was dying. I was absolutely. It was the funniest.
Oh my God.
Mademoiselle. Hollywood, humma.
Funny.
Oh,
Two dogs examine their poop.
You know what the funny thing is I remember, because I didn't see it, because I had the album, so I would hear it. You don't even need to see it.
yeah, but if you saw it, as funny as it was hearing it, just to see two grown men doing that was just priceless.
I would have probably thrown up laughing.
I was laughing so hard I thought I was going to have oxygen.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so silly. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, I stole that bit from the committee, and years ago the committee was the improv group, and they would do it. The whole cast and crew, the committee would get on their knees, and there'd be all these different doggy scenes going on all around you. But Cheech and I took it and really did a good job on it. That was our cool bit for a long time.
And I got
and you know what? I think when I saw it, I think it was before it was on an album. Is that possible?
No.
Let
me think.
The dogs,
I don't know,
because I was a huge fan and I had everything, but I remember sitting there and never had seen that. And I had everything.
The dogs was definitely on an album. I remember.
No, I know that. No, I know it was on an album, but I was wondering if it was we saw it before it went on an album.
Oh,
Westbury.
Well, what year was it, John? What year did you see it?
God, what year is it? I can't remember yesterday.
Oh.
What year is it? In a long time ago.
What do you say, John?
No, John, you might need some Tommy Chong CBD oil. I'm gonna hit the company up to sponsor us, because I mean I love this stuff.
I remember I grew up listening to like the comedy albums I listened to were like Bill Cosby, back in the late 60s, 70s. And I went to my friend's house, and I think it was Big Bamboo was on. Yeah. And all I hear was they were watching porn. He goes, "Man, it looks like my grandfather eating ice cream."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "What the hell is it?" And we listened to the whole album. We just laughed our asses off. It was fantastic.
Yes, thank you from the whole generation for actually. I mean, you inspired a whole generation of comedians. So
well, Cheech and I, because we're partners, and we would ad lib so much of that. The bit that you're talking about, the porn bit. It was called Ralph and Margaret. It was Harry and Margaret. So funny. And Margaret Cheech never said a word. He just pantomimed everything. He would play the middle-aged old lady, and I was like an old Shriner. And I was the old guy that would comment, because my father-in-law, Harry, that's why we needed Harry. Harry had that sense of humor. What the hell are you doing now? Look at a dog. They brought a dog in. Look at that. Oh, he's a friendly pup too, isn't he? There he goes, lickety split.
I just remember
I would make Cheech laugh so hard, because he's not supposed to laugh. He's supposed to be but I would hit some notes, because once you get it going, once you get that role, that's a comedy role going. Oh, we had a lot of fun with that.
Oh yeah, and but you make another comic laugh, and you've got him right on there, and you can just say another word. It's better than sex.
But it was what was so funny about it was just like, as funny as he was, and he, a great setup. It was just the stone voice that just I mean, everyone in the 60s can relate to that. Everyone knew somebody like that.
Oh yeah.
I had a friend Steve when you went to his house. He was so lazy that he had strings hanging from his ceiling with roach clips on it, so he could put it in there and just go like that, so he didn't have to get up.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. We had Charlie.
And he would talk like that. He'd go, "Here you go, man."
Yeah.
And then it would float up.
Yeah, it would float over to you.
Hey man, that's every some best enjoyment. All right, let me get to the next one. Adrian Myers Wilbur says, I see you're a nationalized United States citizen. Curious if you're glad you did that. I
Oh,
don't know.
totally.
Yeah, I can
Totally glad. There's nothing nicer than be a United States, have a U.S. passport. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's the best in the world. And they say Canadian passport, but you know what? When they legalized weed, they put a law saying that I call it the Tommy Chong law, because they made a law saying that we couldn't have any celebrity endorsements.
Oh.
And so we can't sell Cheech and Chong weed in Canada. But Canada's, California is bigger than Canada, population.
Right.
And so who needs it? Who needs that?
Just out of curiosity, is marijuana as big in Canada? I mean, you might not even know, but I mean.
Oh no, I know.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's
You're talking to the godfather of weed.
Godfather of weed.
Mike, they don't even know it's
how's
cold.
the weed usage in Albania? Wait, I know that.
Mike, it's so popular in Canada, they don't even realize it's cold. How about that?
Hey, Albania is one of the first to do weed in Canada.
Really?
There's a pool hall where all those Albanians, the schmeggies we call them,
Right.
would hang out, and they would smoke weed openly because the cops never bothered them. They weren't bothering anybody. The cops were only bothering black people, hippies,
Yeah.
young people, but the old Albanians, they could smoke in front of them.
Tommy's the stock
The only
market
time I ever
indicator
saw
for weed,
people
man.
No, I was going to say the only time I ever saw people smoking weed out in the open when I was younger is the movie Up in Smoke played at the Uniondale Mini Cinema, which is on Long Island. It was famous for all the midnight movies and stuff.
Sure.
And people were firing up, during watching the movie, and I was innocent as pure snow at that point, and I got the hugest contact high.
It.
We thought they were smoking cigarettes because back then that was legal, but no,
we used to light up in the stairways at high school, man. We'd see Tommy's movie, and then you freaking light up, man. We'd smoke it right in school.
Hey, listen, we single-handedly saved the drive-in movie theater industry.
With the movie?
They're midnight. I swear to God, we went to a conference one time, and the drive-in movie theater people came up to me and they said, I bought a car, we bought a house because of your movies. Wow. Just midnight showings.
That's so great.
Movie theater.
Yeah.
And they made a fortune. Well, figure out they don't have to pay anything. And they got the drive-in movie theater there, and all I have to do is collect money.
Roll down the windows of the car and watch Cheech and Chong, baby.
Yeah. That was great. Any more questions?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got one from Noel Murphy, and I think this is a joke, whatever. But he said, is it true that you slouch down when you're working with Cheech so that he doesn't feel like Paul Simon?
My slouch came, it was years and years of playing guitar. That's a guitar slouch, that thing around the neck. All guitar players have, and I definitely have one too.
Do you still play?
Oh yeah. But I got to tell people, two of the greatest guitar players ever. Lenny Bro is one. They're both Canadian. Lenny was from Winnipeg, I believe. Gay Delorme's from Edmonton, Alberta. They were so good. Gay Delorme helped write "Earache My Eye" on mine, on our record. Da 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 da. That was a Gay Delorme thing that he wrote. He wrote the music.
Tell me how to live.
Yeah, I wrote the lyrics.
Nice.
But what was the question? I forgot now.
About what do you still play?
Yeah, you said, but yeah.
Oh, and so here's these two of the greatest guitar players. I'm telling you, no one could touch them. Nobody. Yet they both died penniless.
Wow.
Yeah. At the end of Gay's career, the club owners would say, we'll pay him $100 just to come and just solo, just play anything, just come in, because he was so good. And so I realized, that the acting and what I do, here, that's where I'm going to really make a dent.
Well, you
definitely isn't going to be being the best guitar player.
Right. Well, like I said, I knew you just said it, and I did heard it before. I know you got cheated out of a lot of the stuff from Up in Smoke, but I didn't know you wrote the song. Do you own the rights to that? Did you make your money out of that?
No more than Cheech, because I split it with him.
Right.
I split all the writing credits with Cheech. It was Cheech, written by Cheech and Chong, written by Cheech. I was never into that until we did the last part of Up in Smoke. That's when I had to wake up, because I basically wrote and directed the whole movie.
Right.
And like I said, Cheech wrote his own parts. Everybody wrote their own parts. But when it came to the ending, Lou, who was directing at the time, all of a sudden I was barred from the set. Like I couldn't come on the set, and I direct, and all of a sudden for the ending, no, Lou doesn't want you on the set. What? Oh, okay,
really?
And so then I waited. Then the ending came out, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It was like all a dream kind of thing. And so then that's when I asserted myself. I said, okay, we need a new ending. Okay, I got to write it. I've written a new ending, and I have to direct it. I told everybody I'm the director now. And from that point on, I directed all the Cheech and Chong movies.
Awesome.
Everyone.
Well, you're a hell of a director, because they're all incredible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So popular too.
Well, it must be hard. I mean, it must be hard too to write a bit. You have a vision of what it is. And then my daughter's a playwright and a movie writer. And she says, like, with her play, not one word can be changed.
No.
But in a movie, it's like you have your vision, and then somebody comes in and just changes everything you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I had in Up in Smoke, I wrote a whole dialogue for Jade East, the girl, but she was such a good actress that she looked at what I wrote and said, okay, here's what I want to do. And so she, so I let her. The thing is about a playwright. I was taught by the guy in Colombia. But the reason they call it a playwright is like a shipwright. Guys that build ships, they need a shipwright. Now, what's a shipwright? A shipwright is to look at the design and make sure that the thing is going to float. It's not going to go hit the bottom.
Right.
And that's the same thing as a play. If the play doesn't have the right elements in it, it's going to die. It's not going to float. Right. And so that's what it is. Now, luckily with Cheech and I, everything we did, being comedy, every a perfect joke is like a perfect play.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You
sure.
Beginning, middle, and end. And that was what we were really good at. We could make people laugh, and not just laugh, but make people laugh.
I cried.
And then we could deal with the laughter. It takes experience to do that, and directing. The trouble is with a lot of directors that do go nowhere. It's a job for them. And the more they mess up, the more longer they keep the job, kind of thing.
Right.
And they'll drag it out. And half the time they don't really care about the end product, because they're on to the next one.
Yeah.
See, that was the other key, keep building up, and eventually you get, it'll catch up to you. But I've never had that. I think it was my early training. I had learned how to play guitar because we had a fiddle player that lived across the field from us, and his guitar player got a better job or something, left town, and I could play guitar good enough for the fiddle player. So what he did, he took me under his arm and he says, okay, here's what you do. And he taught me how to play for dances. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of stamina, because you got to not just play a tune, you got to play a lot of tunes and then have a rest and then do it all over again,
Yeah.
And so music became a real chore for me, and I got really good at being able to back up the fiddle player. And to me, that really was the secret of my success. Because if you notice, everything I've done about, like when I was with Motown, the reason I was with Motown is that I had a phenomenal singer. I wrote the songs, but you have to have that front man.
Right.
Great front man. And then when I did the comedy, I had Cheech. See, as long as I had Cheech, and then boom, he's going to be the funny guy, and I'm the backup guy.
Right. It's like a good, like you said, ship's captain or a politician or whatever.
So funny. Every time
the best people around you.
Every time I hear fiddle, we had that guy who played like with some big, huge country western guy, and I said to him, "What's the difference between a violin and a fiddle?" He said, "A violin stays in a case. A fiddle has beer stains on it."
And the common thread, Tommy, you would probably, I know you're going to agree with this, is music and comedy both are based on rhythm and timing, and there's similarities between both of them. So if you're good at one, odds are you can probably figure out how to be good in the other.
Well, there's also another element, truth. See, music, truth is being in tune. If you're slightly out of tune, there's something off.
Right.
So that's why all the musicians, the symphony, jazz, everybody else, give me an A, and boom, they're tuning their instrument. Because once you get that tune, you get that perfect sound. Now you're ready to go. And same as timing. Music, a lot of the music depends on the silence in between the notes. And it's not your ability to hit a lot of notes at one time. It's when are you going to hit them? And that's the same as the joke. That's why, every musician, every jazz musician I know has a favorite joke. And whenever I'm around jazz musicians, I try to find their favorite joke because it's usually so classic.
Yeah. Do you know this musician joke? So Leonard Bernstein dies and goes to heaven. So he's met at the gates at the pearly gates by St. Peter. He goes, "Welcome to heaven. This is going to be great." He goes, "We have the all-time famous musicians that we've been waiting for you. Mozart has original pieces. Beethoven has original pieces. These things have never been heard." He goes, "This is amazing. What's the catch?" He goes, "Jesus knows this chick that sings." That's my favorite musician joke. Anytime I work with musicians, they love that joke.
I'll tell you a musician joke that the harp player Stanley Barron told me this. He's a sax player too. He said these homeless guys were walking down they're telling this buddy of them, what happened to them. And they're walking down by this railroad tracks, all of a sudden they come across this blonde laying there naked, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And the guy said, "So what happened?" He's, "Well, she let us do anything we wanted. We could do anything we wanted as long as we wanted. We just did it." Right. And the guy says, "Did she give you some head?" And he said, "We never did find her head."
Oh,
well, on that note, I know that we're well, Tommy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
Pleasure. We love you. You are a legend, and we can't thank you enough for your time.
My pleasure, guys.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you next time. Okay.
All right. Absolutely. Great.
Thanks again, Tommy.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for everything.
How do I get the hell out of here? I'll just turn it off.
Dave's not here, man. Well, thank you guys. Until next week.
Well, no, not next week. We're taking off for Thanksgiving.
We're taking off for that. So until after Thanksgiving,
we're back with Rock Rubin.
When we're back with Michael.
We are?
Rock Rubin.
Yeah. We are.
Keep smoking, man, and like I'm gonna see if the company will. Hey, man, every time I do coke, man, every time I do the drops, man, I get high.
I'm surprised you didn't do more Cheech, but okay.
You know what? We were just rolling. It was so much fun. He was so great. Once we got past.
Are we still recording?
Here we are. Stuff. So say goodbye before we give away.
Bye-bye. Don't anyone go anywhere.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving.